Hey guys, in this video I'd like to show you some small things, either hidden features or little details that I've noticed about the Model S that you may not know. First, let's talk about some cold weather items. First one is the snowflake icon. The snowflake icon shows up on the bottom left of the dash display next to the battery status indicator, which indicates extreme cold. So some of the battery's energy is not going to be available because the car is so cold. It's not that the battery lost the energy, it's just that it's not able to produce its maximum amount of energy. And this is also displayed in the charging screen. So if you go over there, you'll also notice a very thin blue band, and that blue band indicates the estimated amount of battery energy that is not available. Once the battery warms up and the car is driven around a little bit, that energy becomes available, but until then it gives you this indicator. Now every Model S has a front defroster and a rear defroster, as well as, I believe, front seat heaters. But if you have the cold weather package, you get a couple additional options. You also get a steering wheel heater and then a wiper blade defroster. Most of these heater items, when you turn them on, they stay on until you turn them off, except for two. The wiper blade heaters and the rear defroster. Those will stay on for 15 minutes and then they automatically turn off. If you still need more heat after 15 minutes, you're going to have to turn those back on. One other interesting item about the rear defroster is that it is also tied to the mirror defrosters. And so when you turn on the rear defroster, the mirror heaters go on as well. So I'm going to turn on every single heater item that I have here. Now I'm going to exit the car, turn it off, and then see what stays on when I come back in the car. Alright, let's see. Alright, both front and rear defrosters have turned off. So just the front seat heaters stay on, the rear ones do not. And the wiper defrosters stay on. The rear mirror ones do not, because they're tied to the rear defroster. So that's actually interesting. And when I say stay on, I don't mean it stays on while the car is off. I just mean that when you come back to the car, you don't have to turn those items back on again. So the one that I wish would turn on automatically is the steering wheel heater. And according to a recent tweet from Musk, that will be coming. So here's something you may not have noticed about the app icons on the taskbar. Two of these apps, the Maps and the backup camera, will always bring up their apps in the top space. You can see I've got the dual pane situation going on here. So if I hit Maps or I hit the backup camera, you can see it's always going to default to up here. And of course, if you already have Maps up and you hit it again, it goes to full screen. Then if you hit it again or you minimize it, it'll go back to the small one. But anyway, those are the only two that when you hit them, they always default to the top. If you hit other ones, for example, here's the browser. See, it goes down to the bottom one. If you do energy graph stuff, defaults to the bottom one. Music defaults to the bottom one. And the phone one too. I'm not going to hit it because there's phone numbers in there. And even if you have one app as a full screen item, if you bring in the map app, it always goes to the top. Let's go back to full screen, and the backup screen, it always brings it up on the top one. That's in contrast to if I bring up one of these other ones, it displaces the full screen one by going to the bottom app. I wouldn't say that's like a super critical feature, but it can be good to know if you're driving along and only kind of halfway paying attention to what you're hitting on the apps bar, and you might get confused as to why do some come up on the top and some come up in the bottom. For whatever reason, In this version of the software, the maps and the backup camera always default to the top space. So right now the speed limit is shown right there, and in a sec it's going to change a little bit higher. Right, you can see the sign changed, but Autopilot has not changed. But instead of flipping up and down, all you have to do is pull the cruise control lever towards you for a couple seconds, and then it will automatically increase to the new speed limit. And it applies your custom setting, so if you have it set to always be 5 miles per hour over the speed limit, then it will do that. If you have it set to always be the speed limit, it'll do that. If you have it less, it'll always do that. But it's very handy if you're, you know, in a 45 zone or something like that, and then you get onto the freeway or something like that, or something significantly higher, like 65 miles per hour or something, and you don't have to, you know, manually click, 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 click all the way up. You just can pull it and it'll automatically sync. So I'm driving on an undivided road, which means that when using Autopilot, it'll limit the speed to the speed limit plus 5. You can see there's a speed limit icon that says 30, so I could go 35 if I wanted to with auto steer still enabled, but let's pretend I'm limited to 30. But I want to go a little bit faster, so all you have to do is push the accelerator down. And the car goes faster, but auto steer doesn't, you know, kick off or anything. It still works, and you can override it that way. You can get a couple of error messages. One says speed is restricted with auto steer on in certain times, and you can see it limits it to 35. Another error message that you can get is that the accelerator has been pressed and auto emergency braking may not be functional. So keep that in mind. You have to be very vigilant, but you can override it. On the far right here of the dash display is the energy display, and this has a incomplete circle on the outside, which on the positive end shows your energy use during acceleration, and on the negative end shows how much regen you're capturing, as well as a graph over time of how much energy you're using. And then you'll see down here there's a summary of your energy use, or actually efficiency, in watt hours per mile or watt hours per kilometer, depending on what you have it set. And then it tells you the amount of distance that it averages that over. Now, depending on the conditions in which you're driving, you may want to set this to a different distance, and you can do that in the Energy app here. And you can see that it shows in this app the options of 5 miles, 15 miles, and 30 miles. And when you change these, it simultaneously changes the dash display to display that distance. Now I have a separate video of how the energy graph is useful and how to use it pretty easily on trips. And that's not the point of this clip. The point is right here is that if you're using the abbreviated display and the dash, you can customize it to conveniently show you the information that you want based on different distances. You probably know that the proximity sensors have two different chimes. There's a lower one for low priority, and then a higher one as you get closer for higher priority. And then the alarm sound is something completely different. It's a little bit more shrill to get your attention. But anyway, the lower chime and the upper chime harmonize together. The lower one is an A, and the upper one is an E. And the interval between those two is a fifth, which you might recognize from some popular songs. anyway, it's kind of nice that they harmonize, because oftentimes when I'm backing up or going forward in my garage, there's kind of proximity sensors going off from multiple angles. And so it's nice to hear them in sort of a pleasing chord instead of, you know, something that's really dissonant. So thanks for watching. I hope that video was interesting. Stay tuned. Next month will be our delivery of the Model X. That's going to be in March. Cool videos coming about that, hopefully. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.